Hello, my name is Scott Rohn. I'm Vice President of Engineering here at Filter One, and today we're going to be talking about our new control scheme called CASI, which stands for Control and Settings Interface. This would be the home screen you would see. Today we're looking at my PC on my desk that's actually connected to a production unit out in our final assembly area. This would be the introductory page, the home page, that you would see when your unit boots up or you walked up to it to begin using your unit. The Quick Start button would be used in a booth where you would have multiple modules, and you would go there and you could start all of your modules from one start. It would daisy chain start them, one followed by another, followed by another. The Run page you would click to start the unit. Here we see the scrub pressure magnehelic with the good band and the bad band highlighted by green and red, and the impenger pressure magnehelic, again highlighted by a good band and bad band, green and red. You would start the unit by clicking Start, and this button gives you a status. This is also where you can control the manual water fill, which is how you fill the unit when the unit is not operating. It will automatically shut off the water when it gets to the proper level. Across the top, we have the status bar. You can see the water is off, the alarms are idle, the blower is idle, and the manual fill is off. I'm going to click the manual fill button. As you can see, it highlights. The status bar changes to man fill on, and this unit is currently adding water. I'm going to turn that back off, and you can see the manual fill goes off and the water add goes off. We'll go ahead and start the unit now. So the unit outside actually just started. As you see, the pressures are coming up, and they will proceed into the green band and come to a steady state. And you can see we're running about 3/10 of an inch across the impingers and about 5.5 on the water pressure for the scrub. Those should be numbers, at least the scrub pressure are numbers you should be familiar with. Let's go back to the home page, which you can navigate there by clicking the Home button. We're going to go to Unit Setup. Here you can see date and time, which if you're not connected to the network, you can manually enter the date time. We have water configuration, which we will come back to. We'll have settings, which we'll come back to, distributor input information, and of course the navigation key back to home. This is also, on this particular unit, we have the demo software, as in for a trade show. And if you click the demo button, you can see it changes and it brings up a test alarms button. Again, just for demonstration, we'll go there. If you want to see what a high water alarm looks like, you click yes. And that's what a high water alarm looks like. You'll get 3 red buttons and 1 yellow button saying high water, low filtration. If you wanted to see what the low water alarm looked like, you click yes. Again, you have 3 red buttons and a yellow button that says low water, low filtration. If your after filter is dirty or your impenger is dirty, you can click yes, and you can see that you'll have a dirty filter alarm. Likewise, during the setup of the unit, if it ever fails to complete an automated setup, you'll get a setup failure, which at this point you usually have to go to the manual or call the factory to find out what's going on. But as you can see here, it says setup failure, it timed out. Other alarms you will get are a high duct pressure alarm, which if you get that alarm, that means your duct pressure has exceeded a preset value. Of course, those values are usually determined by conversing with you guys on your factory setup to find out what kind of ductwork you'll have installed. Additionally, you can get a phase alarm. Phase alarm like you, we've gotten tired of getting calls from the customer when the unit is spinning backwards. We set up the unit to spin the proper direction here. When you wire it in the field, if the phase is backwards, which would cause the unit to spin backwards, you will get a phase alarm or a phase lock, and it says rotation backwards, switch to power lines. Most of you should be familiar how to do that. This should really prevent a lot of nuisance calls for you and nuisance calls for us. On the diagnostic page, you'll also see a reset alarms, which resets all of the alarms, and the unit can go back to an active state. Let's go back to the setup page. And I'm going to turn demo mode off. Okay. One of the beautiful things about Cassie is all of the things it can do for you that you used to have to do manually. For example, the water configuration. As you know, when you have a Hydrotron unit, the setup requires, especially on a ducted unit, that you put the proper amount of water in with the amount of air the unit is designed for to get proper operation. So by clicking Water Configuration, you'll be challenged with a series of questions. For example, if ducted unit, is ductwork free of blockages and blast gates open? We would hope the answer would be yes. If it's a table or a bench unit, is the airflow unobstructed? Again, we would hope the answer would be yes. Are after filters clean or at least 75% of life remaining? Again, you would not want to run auto tune unless your filters are mostly clean or brand new. And is the ball valve for the water on at the unit? It doesn't do any good to auto tune if you can't add water to set the unit up. You'd click yes, and then you just continue. So here we have the auto tune page 2, where we'll begin the process. I'm going to go ahead and explain the steps because it can go pretty fast. Initializing the unit, it checks to make sure the system is spinning the right direction. Step 2, it verifies or adds water to the proper level. Step 3, it brings the blower up, turns off the water valve, turns off the alarms so the unit can run to a steady state level. Step 4, with the blower at full speed, it records the normal operating pressures and writes it to non-volatile memory on our computer. Step 6, it calculates the high and low water levels along with the dirty filter settings for alarms and shutdown. Step 7, it releases the alarms and lets the unit normalize or run under the alarm state to make sure that everything is stable and operating properly, and then it will shut the blower off, the unit will come to a complete stop, and your unit is set up for use. Let's start this process now by clicking Begin. You can see step 1 is already executed and complete. Step 2 is executing, where it's adding water. Here the blower is winding up to full speed. It takes about 20 seconds. There it's at full speed. It's recording the normal operating pressures. It's calculating the high and low pressures, and it's shutting the blower down. As you can see, the blower is slowing and everything else is off. And after about 45 seconds, that last executing step will go to complete, and then it will reset the whole process in case you need to run it again. So no more using multimeters or screwdrivers or having to work in an electrically hot box. This is all done from the surface using the Cassie touchscreen. There it's complete. There it resets. You're good to go. This is back to the run screen. We can go back to the home screen. Let's go back to unit setup. There's a few other things. Already talked about date and time. Settings. In the event that you will need to hook up internet to this unit, which if you want to do this remote connect, you'll need to do it. There'll be a network configure page where normally this would be showing you what the IP address is, and if the Wi-Fi is engaged, this will show you what the Wi-Fi IP address is. Let's go back. UPS, this unit has an uninterrupted power supply. So if you have a power outage, it runs the CASI screen for an additional 1.5 to 2 minutes. This allows us to have a soft crash for our computer. It also allows you to turn the power off, open the door, and turn the power on without having to reboot the computer. But this basically is a UPS status page, which gives you the temperature of the chip and some other details about the UPS supply. In the event there is ever a need to upgrade the firmware, we would send you a password. If it was connected to the internet, that orange box would be an update firmware, and it would just do that kind of thing automatically. The last thing on this page is if you're ever talking to the factory, or if we ever send you a brand new CASI for repairs or replacement, there would be a factory settings password which would allow you to get to the factory reset. So I'm going to click here now. You see it brings up a keyboard. You have to get rid of that residual character, and right now we just have it set for 1, 2, 3, 4. Accept that. You can see it brings up a factory settings button. You can click there, and this is where you can do a factory reset. You can, if you have a conveyor, you can set your conveyor times. You can have an alarm unit only or a NFPA style shutdown, whether this is ducted or not ducted, after filter or no after filter, conveyor or no conveyor, 3-phase or single phase. You can also look at the run times. As you can see on this unit, we've run 34 hours and 47 minutes. The ball valve has been open for 2 hours and 24 minutes. As you can see, we've started and stopped the blower 35 times. We've opened and closed the ball valve 4,978 times. I will say that this unit was under a software test where that is exaggerated. Does an alarm count. You can see we had 1 high water alarm, 4 low water alarms, 5 dirty filters alarms. Again, this is a unit running in our assembly area that we've kind of run through some rigorous tests on. From there you can go back. Variables was just a development tool. Again, you can see some of the variables that we have that we use in our software, pretty meaningless to you guys. And of course you can back out of this page, back and back. The distributor button is where you would enter your information. As you can see, this unit was sold by Frank Watson. So the information we have is Clean Air Consultants, Garland, Texas, Frank Watson, phone number, and the web page, and our insignia. If you guys will send us your artwork and your contact information, then certainly we would preload this for you before we shipped a unit your direction. Let's go back. And let's go back. So we've been through unit setup. Sales and service is where the customer would press. And again, he would come up with who to contact and what their phone number is. We have a quick start guide, which that's the first page of the quick start guide. All of the pages would be there. We have the wiring diagram. This is the wiring diagram of the unit. It's about 5 pages long. They would all be there. We have the owner's manual. Now that's about 80 pages long, but it would all be there, and you can zoom in and out just like you would on your smartphone. You have the story of Filter 1, which of course references Cliff and all the years and all the contributions he's made. And of course, home takes you back to home. In the event that you are trying to troubleshoot the unit, if the unit is not behaving and the CASI doesn't tell you what's wrong with it, you can go to the diagnostic page and you can run in test mode. And at that point, you can, it'll run for 10 minutes without shutting down on alarm. Now during test mode, it will not add water, and you cannot engage the auxiliary relay, which would allow you to make dust when the unit may not be running in a safe mode. You can see on this page also we have a system reboot. A lot of times after a firmware update or a software update, you'll need to reboot your computer, the Cassie computer, and you'll come to this page to do that. Similarly, if you ever have an alarm and the unit's locked out, you'll need to come to the diagnostic page and click Reset Alarms. That pretty much is the complete tour of the Cassie for Hydrotrons at this time. We really hope that it makes a substantial impact in your customers' usage and in their ability to monitor and be connected and to get reminders of water changes and some of these other features that we will be adding as time goes by. Thank you very much for your time.